Hello everyone! So I have a very interesting question here from my great friend Varun, and it was in my previous short video where I speak about the online piano technicians. And I mean by online piano technicians, these people that goes to internet and speak about how to move your finger, how to move your wrist, how to move your muscles, but they never speak anything about the music itself. No information about the interpretation itself or the history behind it or anything. So they are speaking about physiotherapy actually. But okay, but the questions of my friend here was a little bit ahead this and too much interesting to not pay attention to. So of course I want to I make some notes here and put his question here too. The question will be here on the description so you can read it. It will be easier than I quote it entirely because it's a long question but very interesting one. So not only one actually, but okay. I start saying yes. Without understanding the musical language, there is no musical communication. This is a fact, okay? But we need to define first which technique is necessary for each case. Why I'm saying this? Because, for example, we can communicate easily a pop song without any technique at all. And when it comes to electronic world, then technique is not even a common word, okay? Nowadays samplers and all those things and computers, you don't need to have any technique to make music. You need to know, I press this, I press that, I press that. There are some things that are already made before, and you just use that and you are making music. I cannot say it's not music just because I don't like, for example. But it's bad quality music? That's another question. But the point is, that being said, when it comes to classical piano, indeed, it's necessary technique. And technique for moving fingers, hand, wrist, arms, and even the body are necessary. But also we need the technique for expressing the dynamics in the sound and for the oscillations to the time. So technique is far more than just reading books of exercise. We still also need to think about the kind of reverse engineering that we need to do when we read the musical score. Most part of pianists don't do this. What they do, they read and they listen to some music. But if you do some recording of that music, but if you do a reverse engineering, means what? That you are going to try to understand how was built that music, how the composer make that music. And this reverse engineering give you the best hints for create your own interpretation. Otherwise you are repeating something you heard. And this is no one can avoid. These are the only ways for doing this. Yes, the greater technique opens a gateway for a greater musicality. I completely agree too. And no, making music doesn't depend on acquiring a proper technique. But making classical music, yes. You see, because as I said, with the pop world or something like this, you don't need a special technique for doing. Even for singing, you don't need a special technique. There are plenty of singers being famous and making music with terrible voices, with terrible tuning, and they are not good at all. But they have plenty of fans and they are doing music. If we like or not is another question. If we agree or if we think that there is any quality at all is another question. As said, Mark Hamburg, that was mentioned here by my friend, is also very interesting his comments about the technique, that he said technique indeed represents these varying branches of endurance, agility too, tone production, touch, intensity of feeling, phrasing, elegance of execution, and symmetry of detail. I completely agree. But I would add to this what I would maybe call transcendence. That at least probably use the term transcendence also a little bit with this meaning. But not only, but also. And what I mean for transcendence is that we are going to notice that this is very important after Liszt, but also very important in some composers even before Liszt or even before Bach. If you pick up Alessandro Poglietti and his suite Rossinolo, for example. Rossinolo, I don't know how to say correctly, but it's a wonderful piece that is a kind of Goldberg variations, let's say, from early Baroque. the transcendence that I mean here is something like something that opens a big spectrum in which you can add the extra musical knowledge. And this means, for example, when you think about books that you need to read for understanding a work, you want to read Après une lecture de Dante by Liszt, and you need to read Dante Alighieri, but not only Dante Alighieri, you also need to read Victor Hugo, because Victor Hugo make the poem Après une lecture de Dante, and he was inspired by Eugène Delacroix painting the La Barque de Dante. So all this is extra musical knowledge that when you have this information and you start to be around these things, and then you go back to the piano and start to play that piece by Liszt, the meaning of some passages is completely different. What we see nowadays is people playing, like I said 2 days ago, I think, or 1 day ago, people that play sonata in B minor by Liszt and say, oh, this is the devil theme. You know, this is ridiculous. There's no embasement. It's just, oh, I see devil laughing, ha ha ha. Okay, good for you. But there's no embasement for that. This is just crazy thinking of someone that have his own musical idea, but this is not something that is coming from any real reference from Liszt, okay? Or from anything related to him exactly. Just people think Liszt, devil, ha ha ha, and that's it. They solve like this, and a lot of people say, wow, wonderful. Okay, but getting back to the point, is the same like, for example, when you think about Faust. We have Faust by Goethe, we have Faust by Leno, we have many other Faust, and this Faust is inspired many music. And if you play the music but you never read it, the meaning is not the same. The way you interpret it is exactly not the same too. Even if you follow strictly the score, it's still easy to see when you already read and you listen to someone that never read playing, you see, but it seems that he don't know what he's doing. And it's not any magical feeling, it's not anything, it's just because you see that the intention is in the wrong moment. I remember listening to a singer many years ago. He was singing in Italian, but he didn't know Italian. And then at some point he says something that was sad, but his reaction on the theater was like someone angry. So he just imagined by what he listened, the sound that he listened, the notes and how the music was, that he is supposed to be angry. But since he never worried about making a translation, his action was completely wrong. And he was just making a solo performance together with another pianist. So clearly you can see something is wrong. He don't know what he's speaking in that text, so his interpretation is necessarily wrong. Okay, or other things like Egmont, Don Juan. There are plenty of things that enters in this extra musical knowledge that I mean, that is part of the transcendence, the things that are out of the standard that we study on piano. And we still have also, of course, cultural meanings. What are cultural meanings? For example, when you think about Hungarian dance, Hungarian rhapsody, and you have characteristics of playing, that if it's not a Hungarian rhapsody or Hungarian dance, that we maybe need to call nowadays gypsy, right? If is not writing like this, you are never play in that way. You are not going to make that kind of rubato. You are not going to play that kind of slowing down and speeding up in that way. This is a characteristic that comes from a cultural heritage that you understand when you have get contact with that, but that's not in the musical score at all. The same happens with, for example, Viennese valse. When you listen to Strauss valses nowadays, play that rhythm that is not a tum cha cha ba tum cha cha tum cha cha, almost breaking the metric sense, but it's still not completely breaking. So that is typical from Viennese valse. So when you play that and use that rhythm, people recognize it as some cultural, that's something that have a cultural meaning. So these are transcendence things that are not in the score. Unless you put Viennese valse style, no one knows. And so all these things together make technique. So I would say I agree with Mark Hamburg, because I think he's a great musician and his speech about this is very good. But I'll also add these concepts of transcendence, things that go beyond music, and without this, the result of music is a mechanical music. And I am someone that I like too much the music more precisely played. I'm not someone that love the extremely rubato that everyone plays nowadays, so I get annoyed with this a little bit. But doesn't mean that I don't understand that need to use and I use and how to use. But for sure, this is not everything. We needed to think all these things together, and then we can say someone have technique. It's different from the pop world. In the pop world, people think someone that have too much technique is someone that play fast. Someone that is too much expressive is someone that don't play fast, but all the notes are with feeling. This is really ridiculous. But okay, I don't want to discuss this. To me, it sounds like a funny thing, because if you really have a technique, you can play expressive, you can play with feeling, you can play whatever you need. Because as I normally say, it's like an actor. You need to be able to convince the people about what you feel, so they will feel what you're feeling. If you're not doing this, you're not a good actor. If you're not doing this in music, you're not a good musician. Simple like that, okay? Long enough, okay? So I loved the question. Thank you for my friend Varun here. And I hope you all enjoy, and all questions are always welcome. I'm always very, very happy to answer them, okay? See you, people.